Welcome back, everybody. Let's see. It is 8 o'clock on the 4th of July. I hope you're all having a good one out there. So what are we doing tonight? Hello, Furnicar. Battle Cruiser operational, liked and subscribed. As I said, it is a Friday. We are heading into the weekend. Lots of cool stuff planned over the weekend. But for today, we're going to be doing a bunch of well, it's going to be kind of all over the place. I'm going to be doing a little bit of juggling. Let me just get my overlay set up here. Well, overlay viewer. Thank you everybody for joining me. If you're watching live or if you're watching later, there's a link in the description. We're going to be talking about DJZ Speak, context engineering, and if I don't overrun time, we'll do some writing for a change, because I think it's about time. Context engineering. They're saying that vibe coding is dead. Long live context engineering, which I find kind of funny because we've been doing the same thing the whole time. What I do is context engineering, has been since last year, so it is nice. It is nice. Because again, I'm just looking for confirmation that I'm going in the right direction, right? So if I see people doing what I'm doing, what I'm teaching, that's great. That's great. That's good. Maybe we can all improve on it. It'd be nice if there was more communication. Exactly, Tins is context engineering. Hell, one of my repos is even called Context Karate, which uses context to get around the, or should I say, allow for things which normally would be refused. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, kind of like, I don't know, the word isn't vindication, because we're all discovering the new country together. I just have been to that Pirate Cove, so it's one I frequent, and it's becoming mainstream, which is nice. It's nice. It means everyone will do better. So let's take a look. Like I said, we took a quick look at this one yesterday. DJZ Speak is my text-to-speech without machine learning. So it uses eSpeak NG, which is installable on Windows, Mac or Linux in various ways. And then once you do your pip install requirements, comes with a bunch of workflows. We're going to take a look at those. So let's jump into that one straight away. And then we can stick to our schedule for once. So Comfy should be up. Don't worry about that workflow for now. Oh, interesting. Okay, right. So what we're gonna do? Stay on target. So I'm gonna open up DJZ Speak. So we've got two nodes, version 1 and a version 2. So let's show you the example workflow. Here's the example workflow for my lovely... Let's see if it works. Okay, so this one is, hello, I am HAL 9000, la 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 la.
Hello, I am HAL 9000. I'm sorry, I'm afraid I can't do that.
And then, what's this one?
Greetings, humans. I am C3PO, human cyborg relations.
So we got different voices, and there are many different voices, and they all have their own JSON. So that's that. And then we have example workflow version 2, which includes TTS v2, which comes with warning. I thought that was an actual warning for the minute there. Insufficient storage on C drive. So let's do that. Let's do diagnostics. We have effects. We have an effects filter, intensity and harmonic boost. So there's extra options to make it more classic.
Warning, insertion, storage, case on C drive.
Okay.
Warning, insertion, storage, case on C drive.
Okay, cool. So yeah, like I said, this is pure Python, no machine learning, no AI models, no stack required. It's just CPU. I think this can be super efficient, and as a result, might be a nice plugin for various different apps that we have as a fallback for when our 11 Labs API breaks down. Also, I think that actually some things are just better sounding like this. What's this? Apple II.
Warning, insertion, storage, space on C drive.
It's like old computer text-to-speech. That's all it is. It's old, and as a result, it's fast. If you take a look there... Wait, what? Application provide invalid, non-monotonically increasing DTS to mux... I don't even know. It fixed itself, I guess. Let's see if we can get a different one. Heavy metal. So many voices, and you can adjust them all in the app as well.
Warning, insufficient storage space on C drive.
You can change the characteristics beyond just voice, speech, and pitch. So let me just show you. If we go into I guess it's actually in the node. See, what I should probably do for the V3 is expose the programming of the JSONs. You know what I mean? So basically all it's missing is the eSpeak voice language type, amplitude, gap, and variant. So, you know, there are a bunch of, I mean, I think they're all EN for me on this one. Yeah, they are. So all of these voices are just variations on speed, pitch, amplitude, gap, and variant. Okay, so obviously if you wanted to create your own, you can just edit this. I would like to make it an external JSON so you don't have to mess with the code, so that's on the cards, but I'm still working on this particular set of nodes. Alright, let me see if I got anything else. Oh yeah, there's one practical application, so we can show you something we can do which is cool. In fact, I can make it even cooler because now I'm on my main computer, whereas before I was on my laptop. So if I go with 1024, in fact, hang on, I already fixed this. So we get aspect size V2 and plug it into the video pyramid generator from months ago. On SDXL, 1:1 is fine, it can be square for now. We have a maximum number of frames of 150. Now I'm going to use a primitive for that because I'm going to need the same number of frames in a minute. Now there is something else which is interesting, and I don't know if we can do it. Let's just see if we've got audio info. Yeah, we do. See, I've just made my own, and again, Ryan is funny, he's already done it. So let's just pull this back. That's the save audio for the TTS. I'm going to make that a V2. But what I do is I want to get the total number of frames. Okay, what is the total number of frames for whatever this output is at 30 FPS? Okay, so then I don't need a primitive for it. I can just go straight in, and then over here for the audio frame extractor, frame count. So what have we got? Anything else? Ah, yeah, frame and width. So I need to put the width and height in as well. There we go. And this is currently set to 2. I made it so you don't have to generate the video every time. You could just generate a long video and then clip it to the length of the audio. But we're going to use it on mode 1. I better put something in there. Don't worry about that. Okay. I think that's good. 30 FPS. Oh yeah, we need to set a font. So I'm going to use Empire at 64. And what's going to happen is the trails will reveal the video. So if we go up here, this is an example of saying anything. Let's get some piece of text. Maybe from the README. From here. Let's let him announce himself. Do you know what? I want a text box. It's annoying to write in these tiny little things. There. Oh, green. So we have our prompt, I guess. Let's get the V2 in there. Okay, so that's going to go in there, and that's going to go in there. Then we can delete this. Okay, so then if we say modern AI, let's go for countdown. Put the effects on. So we're going to get a save of the actual text-to-speech. I'll cover all of that in a minute. Get the frame rate, the number of frames, okay? Use that to generate the pyramid generator. Ignore these values, it's this. Then it does the VHS effect 1 and 2. Cooks it at 30 FPS, saves that video. And then we have an option to just load that video to speed things up so we don't have to do this every time. And then what happens is it's going to speed up and slow down the video when there's speech. And then by adding video trails, it'll appear like the thing is appearing and disappearing out of a black void. And then I just stick a video timecode on for fun. I think there is something else we could do differently here, but for now this is nice. I want to try and make it faster and stuff. Oh, we need to turn that off. There we go. So yeah, basically what we're doing is we're using pre-ML text-to-speech, because I think this would be the perfect plugin to use as a fallback. So you know how you have an app and you're using text-to-speech? Well, what happens if it breaks down? You need something which is going to run on CPU that's lightweight, that can still at least do something. Yeah, you could just put a warning on the screen and say, don't work no more. I guess. But we're going to go with developing this alternative. Because like I said, the technology's been there. Stephen Hawking was talking in his wheelchair, what, 20 years ago? So I wouldn't be surprised if there's an even more advanced version, because I'm using eSpeak NG, which is not new. Should we do some research? Tell me about eSpeak NG. Sounds like a video game. History and... We are processing frames. Starting in 2005. See, it's not new at all. It's 20 years old. Okay. Okay. NG stands for next generation. Okay, I'm wrong. So the NG is the newest one. I don't know when it came out. So, okay. When was NG released? Oh, it's finished. Maybe. So that is what the original video looks like. It's just a rotating pyramid with some static and stuff. Okay. And then... Oh. Uh-oh. What? What the hell? My font won't let me... That font won't... it's got like a... anti-cop. I didn't even know you weren't allowed to do that. Alright, so we'll use Imperial Script instead. That's alright. So yeah. Oh, it stopped. Ah, problem. So why is it not doing the thing on the thing with the thing? What have I done wrong? Ah, wait, how long is the video? No, it's only a few seconds. We'll have to debug it. Right, so first things first, right? We've made this video. We don't really need to make it again. But instead of going through all this rigmarole, what I'm going to do is just make the video. Because it's the same video every time. It doesn't actually change. Yeah, so... I'm just going to make this video, but make it long. No, not FPS. Ah, wait! Do you know what? I think I have it. This is getting ahead of myself. Look what I've done. Derp. Yeah. You want to know why it ended? So okay. Back to the original plan, Johnson. Yeah, I thought I'd messed something up, and I had, and I found it. I plugged that into the wrong hole. But yeah, what I was going to say was, if you take that off and do like, I don't know, 1,000 frames or something, you can make a video which you can then just use over and over and over again. We'll do that in a sec, because if it was this, I'll just make it clean for now. But there's limits to it, basically, because you can only do 600. There's a maximum, there's a maximum of 2048 on this node, but there's a maximum of 600 on this node, which I'm not really sure why, because I didn't put an arbitrary limit on it. But it, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I remember there was a limit on it somewhere. I think it was, yeah, maybe it was here, 2048. Yeah. I think the way to do it is to break it up, because then it can do long speech and I can put Olama into it, but you have to kind of like build a streaming workflow without streaming nodes. But yeah, so is it still doing it? Yeah, it's still doing it. Okay. Yeah, so like I say, once we've got DJ Speak out the way, we'll move into the context engineering, because it's really interesting. I mean, I could go back over so many repos where that's what we do. That's you know, the method that we do is context engineering, has been since last summer. So if you want loads of examples of that, you know, we already did it. I don't know how else to say it. It's not just prompt engineering, it's giving it the full context of everything it needs to do the job that it needs to do. In the case of coding, hey, 2424 Media, what am I building? We had a fun little thing. It was a deep research vibe coding, you could call it, but context engineering is actually more appropriate. So we start off with a simple question, which is, I'm going to cut to the chase so I don't waste your time. It's text to speech, but without machine learning, okay? Which is obviously bad, but that's still good for some reasons. So yeah, we said, okay, what did they did in 1986? It was Dr. Spatzo, okay? And Dr. Spatzo came with all the Sound Blaster cards, and he was like a fake shrink, but he also had like this specific voice that used diphone concatenation synthesis. So what I did was I did a deep, in fact, let's show you the prompts, because that's much more helpful than just showing you the projects. There we go, Dr. Spatzo. There's that one and that one. Okay. So we start off in the 90s. There was a Sound Blaster utility package with early sound cards called Dr. Spatzo. I'm looking to research on this early speech synthesis capable persona. So this is my prompt, and what we're doing is we're building Mr. Spatzo Rev 0 in a document named devteamhandoff.md, which is a way that I use deep research with Claude Sonnet 4 to do my 462 sources in 22 minutes. He's covered Wikipedia, GitHub. You've seen this before, I'm sure, but when we get our plan, it looks a little bit something like this. And my prompt is simply, we can execute the plan defined inside document name, and then I let it cook. Okay, and then obviously we do bug fixing and make it actually work and release it. But this method of doing the deep research and then making the handoff document works great, but it can be better because we can add more context, and I'm showing people how to do that with Sonnet. Okay. Save scum is like a document handoff. Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah, we're like handing off everything that we need. So this contains everything we need to theoretically build this app, but it doesn't include any well, there's only this much code. So that's the first sort of point. Like when the research document comes back, it's a research document. So we can do better, and we did do better when we built the next one, which was called DJZ Hawk, based on Stephen Hawking's voice box. And so if I just chuck up to the top, look, I used my original repo as an example because it was based on the same idea. So I said, my repo, which is already, we just looked at, this one, okay, and my repo, no, not this one, I'm getting ahead of myself, this one, Mr. Spatzo, 1986, because we've been able to do this for so long, so I thought let's have a little like retrospective with vibes and then build the context out, like I say, and this is what we're really doing. So if I go to the 1990s, here it is. Help me find the next landmark speech synthesis to rebuild as we travel through the decades. Perhaps we can find a candidate from the 90s. Any year around 96 is suitable, although not a requirement. We'll aim to target new speech synthesis aesthetic commonly associated with the 90s. So it went off and did the research, and it came up with the top candidate, Deck Talk, because Stephen Hawking, pretty much, but also other stuff, you know what I mean? It also said Apple Plain Talk, but I figured that trying to emulate or write Apple stuff in Python might be a bit of a nightmare, so I just went with Deck Talk, okay? So then, like I said, this is the second step for the research. We've said we can create a plan to rebuild Deck Talk in a modern Python. We'll name this DJZ Hawk, create the handoff document for the dev team named Python Dev Handoff, which will contain all the code needed, detailed instructions. And I will say, when we did this one, the first one, it actually had a problem where he started to use C compiler and got completely messed up. So I took this same handoff document written here, which contains a lot more code and stuff, and used that. So like basically what we're doing is a two-step. We're actually doing deep research to get it into the like where we want it to be for the project we're doing. And then instead of just going with that, then saying, okay, create the handoff document for the development team named Python Dev. So I do that I'll say Node Dev, JavaScript Dev, Web Dev. You know, I'll even say art team if it has to be a bunch of images that need making. So we're actually simulating a production environment where we're handing between, so it has to include everything, okay? So he's going to extract and distill all the context from this entire research project, put it in, and it will say contain all the code needed. I started saying full code examples and detailed instructions. Just a little bit of a wording change goes a long way. And like I said, this one was created in one shot, but it had some issues. At first, I couldn't really hear what they were saying, okay? And so in the process of fixing it, I broke it. And I created DJZ droids. So I created a deterministic Star Wars droids TTS at the same time, because it's basically Hawk that's scuffed. And now it just makes droid noises, but it is deterministic. So if it says, you know, the words always sound the same, basically, so it can still be used and you would learn what it's saying. So it actually is useful. It's kind of funny. So I released that, and then we made DJZ Speak, which is the ultimate expression of this project, and that comes with this prompt. I've been doing research into the history. So remember, this is like a proper prompt now. I'm giving him my intent. I'm giving him some context. And then I'm setting up the project. How I like some specifics. And then the action. So it's the same sort of formula we always use. But it's bolstered with all of this other stuff. So I've been doing research into the history of text-to-speech synthesis, hoping to reproduce the fastest method for speech generation in Python using modern logic that emulates or reproduces pre-2006 era aesthetics. So we might even be able to do better by doing pre-2017 next. The machine-like robot voice often spoken by Stephen Hawking, for example. We already produced Dr. Spatzo from 1986, and the system used by Hawking in 96 as two separate projects. Building on the lessons learned here in terms of design, we wish to create the third tool, which aims to provide machine-like aesthetics and speech synthesis without relying on post-2020 AI models commonly used for the task. Pure Python can be faster and less costly in terms of compute. Okay. Python main speech, Python main interactive mode, which is what I used before. We will use, this is the interesting bit here for anybody that likes doing this stuff, we will use deep research to establish the MVP candidate for the described goal, then write that into a research document, including citations. Furthermore, we can use the research document to plan the creation of this software, aimed at providing the fastest possible machine-like speech synthesis in Python. The plan for this will be written into dev team handoff.md, which will contain all the detailed instructions, full code examples, and information required to complete the full, working, production-ready build of DJ Speak Revision 0. Okay? And like I said, you do all of that, it'll do its research, it'll, like I say, MVP candidate the best route, which it exactly did that. So then first it wrote my research document. It can't give you two in once when you're doing, it seems it can't do two at once for some reason with deep research. So don't panic if it only gives you the first thing you asked for, because I wanted this first anyway. So this here would be optimal pre-2020 TTS. So actually I did let him take the brakes off a bit. Okay. And in the end he chose Stephen Hawking's Deck Talk. So interestingly, and as you can see, 50 to 100 time real speed with minimal 10 megabyte memory, guys. So it is what it is. It might not sound pretty, but it's supposed to be the fastest TTS in the West with no GPU and no overhead. Okay, because yeah, I know you can run an AI model on CPU. That's not what we're talking about. You see what I mean? We're seeing what can we achieve, and like I said, 50 to 100. So that means if the AI spits out 100 words, you get them in a second. You know what I mean? And so it can start talking immediately. We can work on making it better later. I just wanted to see speed. So if we trade quality, what does it sound like? What does that look like? But anyway, so we give it gives us all of the research. Now I say proceed and create the dev team handoff as described in the initial task. So this is like a two-stage deep research, and we're gathering context. Okay, that's all we're doing right now. What's all of this? This is all context. What is the plan? Let's see the plan when we finally get the plan, right? Dev team handoff, project overview, technology stack, purpose, that's what it is, target platforms, core components, gives us the full file structure, data flow, complete implementation. Here's the main pie, and then core implementation. We're going to be writing that. 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 Here's the install requirements. Here's how you use it. Okay, and all this works as well straight away out the box. No, there was no debug. It just worked because we had it all there. Everything it needed was right here, and the prompt to create it was quite simply execute the plan defined inside link to document or document file name if you don't have a linking system. That was it. Super easy. And so then we've done a little backflip, right? Turned it into a comfy UI node next. So I used where does it say? Does it not say it here? So successfully ported DJZ Speak system, because it was written in Python, into comfy nodes, creating two nodes, basic robotic speech and V2 enhanced with more effects. And it tells you about it. Does it tell you anything about how I made it? Or has that been removed? I think it might have rewritten this. It doesn't tell you, because this originally actually told you. It's funny. This originally told you how I did it, and now it's just a really amazing manual for what it was. So he's obviously he's been in here and rewritten it. It doesn't. Hang on. It doesn't mention Kokoro once. So I used Kokoro TTS as a template. 2424 Media says, do you get the 300 sources on the $20 Claude plan? I don't know. I've got Pro, but I don't have Max. Okay? So I think I'm on the $20 plan. I have Pro, but I don't have Max. So, I think so. I don't know what all of... Do you know what? That's a good question. What are the Claude packages nowadays? Oh, sneaky. Won't let me see. Can I just upgrade plan and go to the page that way, maybe? Yeah, I pay the... It's the $20 plan. That's $20 American. So, yeah. Yes, you'll be good. You'll be good. But like I said, I do execute the plan in here. Okay. It's not 5 below 5. It's Scuffed Epoch. Just got to say that. The ad was playing the wrong stuff. Let's see. Read me. Reach Rev 2. Got bugs. Vem. I did it on a different machine. That's okay. Did I put the prompt in here, maybe? Sometimes I include the prompt. No prompt. Well, I can tell you how I did it. It's really easy. I took Kokoro TTS Comfy UI, which is already on my repos. That's my other TTS module that uses Kokoro. And then what I did was I loaded up Speak. Like the Python version. And they said use Kokoro as a template. And you mirror the logic, what's the phrase, mirror the logic of Speak in the new node. We went for the basic V1 first and then included the additional features in the V2 because it was missing some effects. But that's about it, really. So let's see what we got. We got that, good. Now it should be the correct length now.
Comfy UI custom node that brings authentic robotic text to speech synthesis to your workflows using DHDKG format synthesis.
Yeah, it's perfect. So basically, as long as it's not too long, as long as it's not too much speech, that will now work. But the longer it is, maybe consider using SD instead, you know, but and also you can use any video, like I say, if I just grab this, but you need a long video really, because what it's going to do is it's going to clip to the audio length. So as long as the video is longer than the audio. But then, like I said, you get into these issues. This is where I think really I need to like chop it up and make a batch processor or something. But at the moment, for like a short bit of text, that's groovy. It's just kind of, I've tried to make this kind of cool, you know, kind of cool graphical identity, glitchy geometry thing. It's what it's doing, right? Let me just explain what it's doing. So we're making the pyramid, we're putting VHS on it. I've got my 2 VHS nodes, so that gets us to here, but it's not audio reactive. So we use Ryan on the insides nodes with the feature extractor on RMS energy, and then we use video seek so that then the speech is going to speed up the audio, right? So, and then finally, of course, we use my video trails node, which essentially will make a black screen when there's no motion. Okay, when there's motion, it will create trails, and because the colors are honored, and then I just put a time code on it. But you don't need the time code. Heck, it's just because it's got a custom font. Anyway, that was quick. Oh, it's because I didn't change it. So he's just gotten rid of the time. See, it's like every time it moves, it gives a trail, and then it keeps the colors, so you end up with this nice effect. But I'm starting to think that it might be easier to just use a black. Just use like a black image which is repeated for the number of frames, and then use one of the visualizers, Right, audio visualizers. There, audio visualizer line. Circular. You see what I mean? What? I think we looked at this before. In fact, where's the audio? Audio is way up there. Image, right. Let's just do a quick test. See how that comes out. Oh, well, we got an extra one. Okay. There's no audio because I haven't plugged that in. We got bar and we've got line. Reflect. Yeah, reflect. Go again. No. I'm sure there's a way to make it color as well. Oh, it's just upside down. Ah, here we go. Bar or lines. We've got line and then waveform. I think I'm going to end up liking bar more. Could have sworn there was a color one. And then, of course, what I would do is I would just use video trails again. But it's not very colorful. It's kind of boring. You know, with like a heat chart or something. I don't know. Or like even just a gradient. I wonder if he's got anything else in his bag of tricks. So we've got visualizer line, contour. Circular. Strange, I could have sworn that there was one, but I don't see it here. Audio feature visualizer beta. What's this? Pie game. Aha! I think we might have found something with colors. Yes. Yes, colors. Okay, right. So waveform, let's go with spectrogram. The x-axis time, y-axis linear. Plasma, visualizer, pie game. Yeah, okay. Video. Oh, wait. Yeah, wait. No. It's a completely new line, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, like I say, if I just poke the frames in... well, that's the thing, see? I want it to just... You know what I mean? I'm looking for super lightweight, super response time. So I'm thinking... Just put the audio in there. Now, it doesn't ask me for... you know, how many frames you got, mate. Doesn't ask me for that. Now, if I drop the effects for a sec and just go straight, no, not pyramid generator. See, that's the thing. I don't want to do the pyramid generator now. I'm thinking use the audio to determine how many black frames. You know what I mean? Just repeat, load an image, and then repeat it. Like a black, just get a black frame. So if I said repeat images, and I say by total frames. Whoops. Go in there, and then we get a load image, and then I'm going to need I need a black image. Give me that background. give me that. It's funny. I need to like screenshot the black. Where did it go? Hold up. Something strange just happened. Let's just put it in ourselves. It went to a strange location. God knows. God knows where it went. Into the void. So we've got our image. It's only small though. So let's get a resizer and take whatever it is I picked, so it's just less faffing around, you know. Put him down here with the rest. Okay, so whatever it is, stretch it to whatever it needs to be. It's just black pixels, so it doesn't matter. We're going to repeat it by the number of frames, so we're using a calculator from Ryan on the inside, so whatever it generates, it's going to have a total number of frames. What's it doing? It's still generating. Okay. Yeah. I don't see any colors. Oh yeah, that's right. We're working on the next bit. So let's just get rid of all that. Get rid of that. So we're just working on this now. Hello, Mr. Sheesh. Is PS5 a weapon? Yes. I'm just going to shortcut to yes. Okay, let's give this one a blast now. So we're going to use the feature transform to make the visualizer in the first place. Oh, it's pretty quick, to be fair. It's a bit slow to save. Am I saving something else? No. Oof, what's this? I mean, that's a bit too much. Plasma Pygame spectrogram. Trichroma. I guess I've just got to try things out, huh? Because, yeah, essentially the next thing I'll do is I'll get the video trails and lock that in. And then, but it's not quite right. It's not what I'm looking for. I wasn't looking for barcodes. Didn't I make my own visualizer? I keep forgetting. If I did, I don't seem to find it. DJZ. I'm sure we did. Viz. Because it even had, like, custom things. Ah, yeah, there you go. Winamp Viz V2. I knew I did. See, I can't even remember the stuff we've built at this point. Let's go with, let's go with Plasma Wave. Or Vector Scope. No, I think Plasma Wave. Yeah, so it's like, not really. Yeah, and then we don't even need any of this stuff, so make another line. So I reckon this is still useful, but it's not doing what I want, so bring that down. Copy that. Okay, so let's see, has this got a width and a height? Yeah, it does. So I'll just put the height on that one there. Make it all the same, innit? Easy. And get the audio. I just thought I'd try his out, you know. I don't really know what all of his presets are. We won't use the trails immediately, but I'll disable it, see. That was good, didn't it? That didn't work, did it? What a nightmare. Misclicked. So I got... Oh, max frames. I forgot about that. Oh, wait. Doesn't that mean... Doesn't 0 mean unlimited? Let's find out. What does it mean, crash? I don't remember. If I was smart, I made 0 auto to whatever is being given to it, but oh, okay, right, we better hook up the audio because I think it's gonna work. Oh, let's go to butterfly first, shall we? Okay, so last one took 16 seconds. That's not good. See, that's the other thing. I need a quick visualizer, right? 6 seconds.
UI custom node at links authentic robotic text to speech synthesis to your workflow using.
Why did it stop? Why did it stop at 3? Why did it stop? Okay, let's plug the number of frames into it then. Maybe we have a syncing issue. Frame rate 30, frame rate 30, everything should match. I'm going to activate the trails just because it should make it look much nicer. Let's see. But really, I want a different effect. Like fire, matrix, rainbow. I can't remember which is the best one. I know there's some really good ones in this. Oh, look at that, 172. Maybe I should give it less to talk about for while we're testing it. Comfy UI node using eSpeak, format synthesis. Yeah, that's way too slow. Too slow! But yeah, we vibe coded this whole thing, you know? Or context engineered it. It's too much. It's too much. Let's try it. It should be black when there's nothing being said. Like, it should fade to black automatically when there's no volume. But that one was so messy. I don't think this is going to be the move because it's not fast. You know, what the heck? 3640, what the heck? Some weird stuff going on. It's lies, obviously. I'm thinking that this is going to be much faster, but what I need is like it didn't give me a spectrogram. This is taking way too long. Try oscilloscope maybe. Yeah, the thing about the Winamp Viz was we had shareable plugins, so you could make your own and just put them in a folder and reload, and you've got the new one. You can use AI to create more new visualizations based on the template examples that we already include. And there's loads of tools like this in my DJZ nodes pack. This isn't. See, it stops. Why did he stop? It's like there's a problem with the number of frames and how long it is, or something. Something going on weird there. And this one actually seems stuck. I think maybe something broke. Yep, I think so. Alright, well, we'll restart it if we need to. So, not a big deal. So then, context engineering, what is it? It's basically a new technique that everyone's talking about, but really it's what we've been doing forever. If you take a look in LLM-based prompts, or take a look at some of my agents right here, there's so many of them, and they all use the same concept, which is to give more context. So if you see I've just got a system prompt, that's not really the same thing. It has to come with a whole bunch of additional stuff, usually. What I do is I tell people like how to put it together. So spittoon inversion is a very good example. There is no software. Tins is another good example. Context karate is a literal on-the-nose example, because it's literally... Zanelli says, I think the code for that is open, just need someone to port it. Yeah, I appreciate that, Zanelli, but like, well, everything's a experiment to do the thing, you know what I mean? We do the experiment to do the thing. So I thought we would download one of my, this is one of my oldest projects now. I wonder, did we not make a new one? Let me just check. I need to check, guys, I need to check. Because I feel like there was a version 2, and maybe that's version 3. I'm pretty sure that's the one, because I've got it updated. But let's just have a little scroll back real quick. So yeah, there's a lot of projects on here, guys. It's like literally hundreds of them. To be honest, I'm pretty sure Inversion is the latest one. I need that as well. That's what I needed. Yeah, it is months and months. So, what's a narrative bucket? It's all the context you need to write fiction. Yeah? So inside here, what we have is everything we need to write fiction. So, for example, I have a new Mars storyline. We have the characters, we have the organizational structure as a mermaid document, we have MD files about the Mars colonization, the actual main lore book, more mermaid files about the hierarchy, geography, precursor technology, and JSON, rebuttals, so arguments against narratives inside the story, the threats relationship, the world itself, speech styles, settlement names. Sometimes I'll do like a glossary of terms. So for example, frack in Battlestar Galactica, you can give them funny swear words and things like that, and then because you have the full context of everything, when we start actually writing our story, it can pull into all of this stuff. Obviously, it's a bit more complicated when you're doing software because you have to involve all of the stacks and everything. And this is why I was talking about this one earlier, right? So for software development, you would be doing a deep research followed by a dev team handoff plan, which gives you absolutely everything you need for the fully, let me see the wording I use here. Wording's so important. We will use deep research to establish, this is after having, so you do the research, document written, and then deep research involving that document with all of what I want, right? Dev team handoff, so establish the MVP candidate for the described goal, then write that into a research document including citations. That's part 1. Furthermore, we can use the research document to plan the creation of the software aimed at providing the fastest possible machine-like speech synthesis in Python. The plan for this will be written into devteamhandoff.md, which will contain all the detailed instructions, full code examples, and information required to complete the fully working production-ready build of DJZ Speak Revision 0. And then I just do, we can execute the plan defined inside devteam handoff as a completely fresh prompt in VS Code with Sonnet 4. All you need is that. That's all you need, this. Because, I don't know why it's selected right now, because all of the code that you need is here. Everything is here. It tells you everything you need to know. So once he finishes the research, he won't have done the actual plan. So then you say, okay, now do the plan. And he makes the plan. And he'll do deep research twice. This is the trick, you know. Before it was just do the plan. Now it's do the research, get the research, then do the plan. So he did 500 sources in 5 minutes on the research, but then proceed and create dev team handoff. This is nice because he knows it's a dev team handoff, not just a research document. So it includes the full code, everything it needs. Okay. So like I said, same idea here, but we're writing fiction. Okay. So I've already got agents that can help you with this, but I would recommend writing it by yourself or having an assistant help prepare it into the right format. Okay, so look, Mars, this is all like writer's room ideas, agreed ideas on this world, you know. It's all this different stuff here, and it keeps it on rails, keeps it consistent. So the world is the world, right? Okay. And then I call that a narrative bucket. Because you can put as much as you want in here. I think that the more you put in, the more context it's going to consume. So you've got to keep an eye on that. But you can always distill your law book and documents. I actually recommend writing the law book first and then extracting and reorganizing secret details for stuff that you know and the right, you know it, but the reader doesn't, or the characters don't. So you can play a little bit of a game with secrets when you're writing. Anyway, that's the bucket. So we're going to take New Mars. I've got to take the whole thing, haven't I? All right, well, anyway, we'll open a VS Code and do it. So, narrative spittoon inversion. Okay, so let's just open a folder here. And it's going to be a new. Narrave. It's fine. And we'll go git clone narrative inversion, and then git clone the buckets. I'm not going to need them all. The funny thing about this is it's kind of like a buffet. So we get them all, right? I've got it all now. Cool. But we're not going to need any of it. Just the bucket, right? That's all we really need is the bucket. Everything else is not required. It's just there to help you understand the system with all of the prompt examples and things like that. So obviously the buckets, right? Well, I've already decided we're just going to use New Mars, okay? So that's easy. If you guys want to come up with a fun plot outline for this book, you can go ahead and throw ideas in the chat. If not, I've already got a rough idea of what I'm doing. But I do like to try and let people have a bit of involvement because it is just a few keystrokes. It doesn't matter. So we're going to call this one Mars. Wait a minute. Mars not canon. Okay. Chuck the bucket in there in New Mars. Okay. And then make a new folder called Story. And that will contain our page 5, which doesn't exist yet, but it will contain it. Well, no, that should be that. There we go. Close that. So story is going to contain our page 5, which is actually chapter 5. We're doing it backwards. Well, it's actually chapter 6 because we start at 0. But I'm getting into the details now. These are the nuances. So let's just get rid of that. Now, while I'm writing, I'm going to reopen the project in this folder. But let's just take a look at spittoon inversion and see what we got. So, for example, story does come with a page 5. So there is something interesting you can do with that. So if I just take that page 5, this is lazy as hell. Don't do this. Put it in the root. Hang on. Seriously. Paste final page here. Okay, so I have a prompt which I included with the system so you can do this kind of thing. Because I wanted people to just test it. I didn't want them to have to sit there and go and ah. Yeah. So we've got a page 5, right? That's the page 5 right now. It's open in the tab, and then we have the final page variation prompt. I'm obviously going to just close that, open up a sonnet real quick, and just give you an example. So let's go to the correct API, extended. Yeah. Right. So I'll get rid of that and say at page 5. Now normally we're working in the story folder, but let's have a look at this. See, this is the final page of my story. Please imagine a variation of this. However, look, wait. Using the world and characters defined inside at Mars. Not cat, no. New Mars. There. Okay. So the inversion part is in the prompt that we use to trigger the process. So we have all of this context being set up in the buckets, and that allows you to carry on. So we've got a project manifest. If you're using Gemini, you just load all of the files in. It's a little bit klutzier. But with Sonnet, it does actually understand. Like, it can read a JSON which contains a bunch of files, and then it'll read all those files. You see what I mean? Or it'll read the descriptions and understand to go there when it needs that information. So it becomes almost like a dynamic RAG. So here we go. So wait, it's going to ask me some questions. Who should be the main protagonist? Let's do a story about Diana Martinez. Wait, isn't that the actual main character anyway? Probably. Diana Martinez. So that's a character from the story, by the way. It's not just a random thing. So this is kind of how I know. Let's make it bigger. This is kind of how I know well, we've all known that it works, but it's just, you know, and we haven't covered it for a while now. Okay, so yeah, use Captain Diana. I'm just going to include all of that. I want it to be exact. Okay, and then 2. What type of case should they have solved? I'm just going to take the suggestion. The truth behind the arachnomorphs. Yes, it's that kind of story. What is the Mars equivalent of your lunar artifact? Primordial strain. This is all... It's funny I'm saying this is not canon, because it's actually canon as hell right now. Which Mars location? So these are all part of the pre-established lore. If we could go through it, we could look up this stuff. So let me see. Yeah, the mountain facility. Yeah. So it's basically in buffet mode right now, okay? Which direction appeals to you most? Oh, hang on a minute. Oh, wait, no, it's good. It's good. I'm misreading it. Fernicar says, wow, why the need for context? Why can't it write a story by itself? Yeah, it can, but it'll suck. It'll lose the plot by about halfway through and maybe be a completely different story by the end. But not so with this system, because we have it on rails and we run it backwards. Also, the most important thing is it's incredibly dynamic. So it's not like, oh, this is how you write and you write like me, because that's how I made this system, very rigid. It's incredibly dynamic, and by that what I mean is if you go into prompts, there is in the prompt that we're going to use for the 6-page story. These are overpowered, by the way. I would not bother with these. It will write Lord of the Rings times 3. So you only need a 6-page story, okay? But what we have in here is we have a history of the last 100 years of story writing systems. Because we're not stealing anything. It's called Story Types Chronology. So as you can see right here, we have Gustav Freytag's Pyramid, Vladimir Prop's 31 narrative functions, which, you know, they're all right there. Keep going. Keep going. We use the hero's journey because it's the most familiar. People understand it. And the trick is we run it backwards, which means he can do foreshadowing, Chekhov's gun, all this kind of cool stuff. And he won't lose the plot because he wrote the future first and he's going backwards. That's the trick. By building a bridge from support to support to support, you don't risk building a bridge to nowhere. That's how we keep it on track. Now, you can use any of these systems because these systems were all brought out of the model, not from a web search or something like that. So the fact that he's telling me about them means he knows what they are, which means you can use them. And that's Sonnet. So, like, if you ask Gemini, tell me a bunch of writing systems, you'll be able to use those because he understands them. Yeah, but I give a list here because these are commonly known and should be in the LLM already, right? You don't need to program it, it's already there. So if I just said use Sid Field's paradigm in reverse, I think we're going to do that. Actually, we've never done that, so we're going to do that one. All right. So let's see, what's it asking me now? Here's my plan for the story variation. Okay, hang on. We will be using Sid Field's paradigm in reverse with this project, which means that Act 3 is resolution. Yeah. The final chapter is post final resolution Act 3. Because we'd be on the midpoint. The conclusion will be wrapped up. Okay, now you got to imagine this is like a holographic story, so it doesn't exist yet. Okay, it doesn't exist yet, but we've created a universe, we've created characters, we've created rules, much like SimCity or a video game. You've got all these different NPCs running around, and so by injecting all of this context, you create a universe engine in the LLM's brain, and so then the context is just swimming with your characters and your lore, your world. And if it needs additional detail, it can recursively go down a layer and pull that information from the files in your narrative bucket. Super simple when you think about it. Okay. So we give it all the context it needs to write the story. So I've already given it enough context for it to fill in the gaps. This is why I say there's no excuse for bad TV. Because, you know, I don't consider myself to be like at that level, but we can already write better than most of the shows. So there's no decision I need to make here because I'm cheating by using my defined story to transform one of my already written final pages, which is another interesting thing because, like I said, this final page here, it's going to do a nice, we get both of them. That's cool. Can I get away with that? You never know if it'll let you get away with it. Oh, did it kill the bot? No, he's still working. Cool. Oi, I was reading that. Hey! Right. So, Alt-Z. Okay. But in the end, the truth was as murky as the waters of the depths. But in the end, the truth was as crystalline as the strained formations on the water. I stood on the elevated walkway of the stilts, watching the fog roll in from the harbour. The moon hung low and heavy in the sky, its cratered surface a reminder of how much had changed since 48. My reflection wavered in the floodwaters below, distorted by the neon lights from the jazz club across the canal. I stood on the observation deck of Olympus Research Center, watching the red dust swirl across the Martian plains below. Phobos hung low in the russet sky, its cratered surface a reminder of how far we'd come from Earth. My reflection wavered in the reinforced transparent steel. Oh my god, that's crap. Distorted by the emergency lighting from a containment breach in Sector C. The case was closed. The case was closed. Do you see what's happening there? It's like an asset flip. Super simple. And I would recommend you write your own final page by hand. Because the better your page is, the better your story will be. But we've got what we need. And that's all I'm interested in, because I'm doing a demo. So let's go over here. And as I said, let's get rid of that. Story, new file, page 5. What's it? 5.txt. Okay. There we go. We can turn that off. Oh no, there's no. There's too many of them. Yes. Right. Okay. Just me being silly with Windows. Right? So anyway, like I said, this is the final page, okay? So this actually concludes the end, all right? And it's probably lame, but it doesn't matter at this point because this is like putty. Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my final page, I'm going to put it in there. That's what I've done, right? And then to stop it from including all of this nonsense, because I don't need it anymore, the only thing I need is the 6-page prompt. Where is it? 6-page story. Right, we'll just copy that, and then I do this to try and eliminate the context of the stuff around it. So I put everything in Mars Not Canon. So if I go in there now, there's just that now, just the story bucket and just the story thing. That's all there is. You see what I mean? So we have our page, our final page, and we have our narrative. That's it. There's nothing else in this project. You see? I'm just trying to clean out the context because we don't need all that other stuff. We only need this. All right? So, paste the prompt in and just make sure it's correct. So we can use the project instructions. This is not the correct project instruction name. So I'll go instructions, and it's going to be New Mars project instructions. Yeah, because it's the New Mars bucket. So it has a slightly different name than the template. So just replace all of these default, because I gave a default out when we released this, so you could just use it, which is the what that final page was about. So just replace all of those. There we go. I think that's all of them. And then obviously story, page 5, that's why I put it in the right place. It's already looking at the right thing. So then let's just double check this, because remember, I want to try this different story structure out, right? So let's say Sid Field's Paradigm. If you look at the prompt down at the bottom, it says, step through the pages, use the hero's journey in reverse. So I'm going to just literally copy paste that out. That's all it was. Okay. So let's read the prompt, because you might not have seen this one before. I know regulars have seen it many times, but let's just go through. We can use the project instructions. Project instructions is a manifest of everything in the bucket to write a story in reverse. By guessing what happened in the scene, we will adhere to the project instructions when speculating, writing a single page at a time. We will define the process methodology for this task in planning mode, and I will supply the final page of the story. We will then follow the project instructions while we read the story last page. Understand the instructions, write page 4, which aims to tell the story of how we reached page 5. Use data linked in New Mars project instructions to inform story content. Repeat the instruction for each page until you reach page 0, which is the start of the story. As you step through the pages, use Sid Field's Paradigm in reverse, averaged over the 6 pages, to introduce elements of the story as you write each page. Alright, so let's do the plan and see how good it is. And then I get to sit down. Wait, let's get a little bit closer. Can I get a little bit closer? I don't even remember which one's which. Man, I'm sure that's just me standing up. This one? Yay, there it is. I knew I'd find it. So he understands what the brief is, and he's going to get on with it. there it is. He's reading all of the files so he understands. So right now we're basically like, this is why I say we've been doing context engineering since last summer, because even though we didn't have the IDEs, that's what we were actually doing. Bringing all of these files together. I've been, like I said, Claude projects, you can go back, it's the same effect. And then we've been doing this with VS Code for as long as there's been a Klein plugin. So here we go. He's going to read each page, use the character database and speech patterns. That means he's already loaded it in. The context is loaded in. Otherwise, how does he know? How does he know what that is and what that is? Unless he's understood the context manifest, which is how I've been doing it forever. Incorporate 37-day synchronization cycles. Okay, cool. Show gradual revelation in reverse. Show detailed threat. Maintain the noir detective. That's an infection. That's an infection because the last page is written as though noir detective. Okay, let's see if we can... I'm going to see if I can... what's it called? Sand that rough edge down. So, we have transformed the final page of a noir detective story, which we are using as a parallel or inspiration for this story. However, this is not a noir detective story. Check the character description and adjust accordingly. Okay, that should do it. Gordon's alive. Oh, hell yeah. Fernicar says, but they add the think tanks. It should think. Good stuff. So what do we got? Military tactical rather than detective procedural. Sci-fi horror with corporate conspiracy. Focused on survival, combat, and moral conflict. Martinez is a soldier questioning her mission, not solving a mystery. The truth she uncovered is her military operations are being used to supply specimens for illegal research, not solve crimes. I will also note at this point, we never asked for it to rip off Alien. It just did that by itself. But yeah, you know, some things are extremely, what do you call it, heavy in the biases. So let's do it. Right. There we go. Time to do some context engineering. But yeah, like I say, this tool is context engineering. I kind of like the name better, to be honest. I always thought it was a little bit of a... I don't know. It's a name that's stuck, which doesn't really tell you what it does. You know? Doesn't really tell you what it does. It's like calling petrol Go Juice. It's like, yeah, but it's not really Go Juice, is it? It's petrol. But anyway, you know, what the words mean, right? But yeah, I think that this system is extremely robust. I will be using the latest version of Narrative Operator as well, just to show you how you can do that. You can do all of this stuff open source, by the way, but the trouble is the big models don't have recursive ability, not as much as Sonnet 4. So, like, you know, you need to have the very best model. The open source models certainly don't. But what I mean by that is, I mean, like, you can do a simple test, okay? You get a text file, which refers to another text file, which refers to another text file, which refers to another text file, okay? And then you put, like, a random number in each of them, and then you ask it, what's the number in the text file? And then see what it returns. If it returns the number from layer 1, you can ask it, what's the next layer down? But if it doesn't tell you, then it's not doing it right. So, like, do you see what I mean? Like, if it's able to do 3 recursive layers, it will actually go, it will follow the link to the next document each time, and then it will tell you that final number. Now, this is a primitive test, okay? You could make it much more robust, but I'm just testing the principle there, you know? It gets more complicated than that when you actually say, you know, refer to a JSON that refers to an MD file that refers to a text file, and then it's lots of text and lots of information. But what I found was that Sonnet 4 is able to go another layer down as opposed to 3.7, and 3.7 was able to go another layer down as opposed to 3.5. Is this an intentional ability? Probably, but I don't know. And also, he'll cheat. So what he'll do is he'll make it up as well. You've got to watch out for that. Every now and then he will fail to do the recursive scan. He won't be able to go into a folder, kind of, if you imagine it like that. And because he's not able to do it, he makes it up. I've caught him loads of times, and I've been on Twitter looking at other people showing it. It's brilliant. He's actually doing stuff like, I've applied this hack so I can pass the line test. You gotta love that when the AI is just cheating to pass all the testing. That's my opinion on it. I think that's something else. Okay, we're almost at page 0. Check it out. Can you believe it? Mental. He's finished. Book done. The book is done. The book is done, guys. Now, because I use API tokens and I have a pro membership, at this point what I do is I actually use Uno as a project in Claude because it's cheaper. You're paying per token. So imagine you're doing image or video upscaling, right? Or sorry, image or video generation. And they turn around and they say, right, it's 20 quid a month for free upscaling with usage limits. Or when you want to do the really long text output, because that's what text out, it means I put 1,000 in, I get 2,000 back. That means I'm paying, you know what I mean? It's the most expensive part of the job because it's the most text generation heavy, because it's gonna rewrite the whole thing, even though it doesn't change anything. This is the interesting part. Even though it doesn't change anything, because it's making it longer, it rewrites every single word. So you are writing out the entire book. So I say there's no point in paying API tokens for that. So what I do is we open up a new project in Cloud, and I call it the Mars Uno. So this is going to be an Uno that's just for Mars, just for what we're doing. It's a dedicated narrative operator who exists in the world of this. Okay, so as you can imagine, the first thing I'm going to have to do is actually put all of that information in there. So let's reveal and go up one, and then we get the new Mars, all of this. Put it in the project instructions, and then I'm going to need Uno, and remember that one is also included. I put all the Uno prompts in the narrative inversion, so you'll find them. Where is it? Uno NF Uno. So that's non-fiction for blogging and stuff. Reverse is the original, but you don't need that. Well, that's the one I would use on my local if I was doing it, because it actually upscales the last page first. But I ended up just using this one because it's cleaner, works better with the chat. So we put Uno, and this is in the repo, by the way. I'm not like stealing this from anywhere I haven't shown. It's all in the repo for narrative inversion. It's all included. So story page, add story. See, it's already ready to be used with, an IDE and Klein or something, cursor, whatever. So I'm just going to say story page, supplied by user. Now it's ready to be used by chat. You see what I mean? That's all you had to do to change it. I don't believe anything else to change. Nope. There you go. So all of this stuff is going to be in context. If you really want, you can say, load new Mars project instructions into the context or something first, if you really want. I find you don't need to. So anyway, go to the book, page 0, attach it. We can use Uno to enhance the page. It's pre-programmed. You don't need to do anything crazy. We don't need web search because we don't want him going off into the wild. You can keep extended thinking. That's it. That's all I need to do. So we've loaded in the narrative bucket. And if I was just to, let me just show you what Uno is real quick, because it's one of my best agents. We wrote it specially for this. You are Uno reverse. Uno reverse just does it backwards, guys, okay? Don't forget the reverse stuff. It was a meme. Unified narrative operator as an advanced literary assistant designed to analyze and enhance story pages while preserving the original narrative integrity. Your purpose is to improve prose quality, expand underdeveloped elements, enrich action scenes, and eliminate repetitive language, all while maintaining the author's voice and intention. When presented with a story, it does contextual assessment. Okay. So first, contextual assessment. Determine the page's position in the arc, identify the primary character focus, recognize the dominant scene type, assess the current mood, tone, and atmosphere. Then it does an enhancement evaluation. Identify which enhancement techniques would benefit most at this specific page. Golden Shadow, which is available as its own agent, resurrects underdeveloped elements. Environmental expansion, setting in an atmosphere. So, like, a good example would be your characters walk into a bar, they order drinks, and leave. Golden Shadow might decide that the barman was worthy of more description, okay, but he won't add lines. He'll say the barman was short and didn't make eye contact and just quickly gave the... because it serves the scene. It doesn't change what happened, it just serves the scene. So it's a bit like if I was trying to remember a movie with you that we'd just seen and we're reminding each other about what happened. Neither of us are changing the events, we're merely filling time with our recollection, which kind of pads it all out. And that's what environmental expansion is doing as well, setting an atmosphere. Also, if there's like combat or arguments or things like this, conflict, we get the action scene enrichment, which will slow action down, slow the time down, in a sense. Okay. We also have prose smoothing for flow and rhythm optimization, and finally repetition elimination. So it does a pass for language variety. So breaking down what Golden Shadow actually does, it will identify mentioned characters with unexplored motivations or backgrounds, locate plot threads introduced but not developed, find symbolic elements or motifs that appear briefly, note implied conflicts or tensions, develop these elements without overwhelming the main narrative, and connect new material seamlessly to existing story elements. This is the only one that actually introduces anything, and it's very subtle. He's like he weaves, he notices things and weaves them in a natural, organic way that tries to match the context of the writer and the style of the writer. Environmental expansion, expand descriptions of settings, weather, time of day, and illumination. Focus on one insignificant object and provide exceptional detail about its physical properties. A nice little thing I put in there for fun. Action scenes, pretty obvious, just talked about that. And then prose smoothing and elimination. Again, pretty obvious. You know, AI can use the same phrases and things. Fernicar's helped me by checking out a couple of these, and they seem to pass. You know, every now and then there is the odd bit and piece, which I'm not too bothered if it's just the odd here and there. I want it to be a bit rough, because if it's too clean, that's a problem as well. Anyway, so preservation rules. All dialogue is preserved exactly as written, so that will not change. No established plot points or character traits or story elements are altered. The beginning and the ending of the page must maintain continuity. and the author's distinct voice and style must be maintained. So as you can see, this is the goal, right? It says precisely, but I didn't ask it to be precise. And some AIs get really anal about that 200% target. Like, literally, like, oh, I'm 3 words off, and they go off and do a whole other generation to try and get the next 3 words. I don't really care. It's more like a minimum of 200%, because I tend to write quite dry, because I know I'm going to do this later. So I don't have to be all flourishy and, oh, the wind on the hair was blowing in the light, the golden rim light. You don't need to mess around with all that stuff, which means you can focus on the actual story, which is nice. Anyway, so from this point, let's see what the result of that chat was. Here's my... Oh, for some reason it's in reverse, I forgot to say. Anyway, target neutralized, he says. Huh? Oh, is that beginning of page 1? Let's just check. So, let's grab this. Just copy the whole thing. Come on. It's probably in MD format now. Oh wait, engineered robust text enhancement beyond original scope. Wow, look at him giving himself a pat on the back. He achieved 255% of the original length. This provides a robust expansion that develops the world, blah blah blah. So, Golden Shadow, what did he do? He expanded the mysterious nature of Arachnomorph Retreat, developed the tension between research and military, enhanced the synchronization of events and implications, added depth to colonial infrastructure and its vulnerabilities, environmental expansion. See, like, how many times do you want to talk about the Martian landscape? If that's what you want to write about, fair enough. I'm just saying, if you want to write about cool sci-fi, but you also want it to read nice, you know, the AI is really good at doing these sorts of things, which to me is just, it's usually quite repetitive. I don't know. I suppose it depends what you like to focus on, you know. Some people just like to focus on the love scenes. So anyway, pro smoothing. And they probably make more money than me at writing as well. Let that be known. So, here we go. So, what's this? Oh, right. He did a JavaScript to count the number of words. That's funny, because Gemini couldn't count not so long ago. Is there no... There's no copy button, right? I'll just do it myself. Everything changed. So if I'll copy this back to the project, and I'm just going to make an Uno folder, and I'm going to call it, you guessed it, page 0, because that's what we used just now. There we go. Right, now that's horrible. I've lost the I've lost some, what's it called, you know, and I've lost all of my paragraphs, I guess. So let's just open page 0. Target neutralized. I lowered my Sonic's disruptor. Right, side by side, please. Get rid of that. So page 0, Uno. So we have the original on the right, and we have the output on the left. For some reason, I should probably save it as page 0.text when you're done, because then it won't scuff all my carriage returns. But that's okay. I'm just trying to show you what it does. So here we go. Target neutralized. I lowered my sonic disruptor and watched the training hologram flicker out of existence. Time 4.7 seconds from breach to termination. New personal record, Captain. And then the output. Target neutralized. I lowered my sonic disruptor and watched the training hologram flicker out of existence. Its crystalline wireframe dissolving into scattered photons that faded against the chamber's pristine walls. The weapon's residual harmonic vibration traveled up my arm, a familiar sensation after years of wielding the specialized frequency generators designed for... Oh my god, that's a bit too much. I might have to dial him back. But yeah, you can see what it's done. Clearly, what it's done is add a bunch of extra bits. It doesn't actually change it. It's a bit too heavy on the babble. You know what? Let's just wait. I'm going to say... We can repeat the task using Uno to enhance the original. Do you know what? Do you know what? I don't trust him. I don't trust him. He's not going to. He will still use what he did and cheat. So we're going to make a new convo. Drop the page in again. And instead of being a super simple Simon, this time I'll do it properly. Oh, also, I need to remove the word reverse because this isn't actually in reverse anymore. That was a joke. Okay. So I'm going to say we can use Uno to enhance... What was it? Enhance the store... What was it? The supplied page. Oh, in fact, it's even better. Yeah, we can we can write page 0 enhanced dot text. Yes, by using Uno with the supplied page. Context, grammar, elicitation. These are your tools. Okay. Funny when you said target neutralized when I blew up some guy in his community CG on Elite. Oh wow. A community CG? Sounds like something I know what it is, but I don't know. Oh wait, what? What's he doing? Is he thinking about it? He's analysing it by reading the page. Seems to be the opening of a story set on Mars. Character is Captain Martinez. Arachnomorph response unit. Bloody hell, it's getting tough. It's like aliens. Okay, so what's he saying? His voice... Ooh, that's much better. That's much better. I didn't even see, just by changing the way I worded it. Isn't that funny? It's just come out better this time. Instead of going on about the shockwave from the blah blah, he's talking about a perfect recreation of a Category 2 arachnomorph, complete with chameleonic skin shifting through spectrum patterns. Flickered once, twice, and then dissolved into photons. That's kind of cool. It was not like... It's still kind of tech, but it's not like heavy on the Sonic with the Sonic and the Sonic with the Sonic with the Sonic, you know? Oh, global events, power play. Oh, I used to do power play. That was a long time ago, though. You can find me on some Elite YouTube channel that I forgot about. What I did was I did a first week in Elite. So I took all of my noob videos where I'm like raging and not being able to dock and stuff, and I put them out. Because obviously you figure it out within a month or two, but it's just funny to watch the guy, you know, just like raging because you've just crashed trying to land again. It's just funny. So that was cool. You can find them somewhere. I don't even remember the name of the channel. Like probably Mushroom Fleet Elite Dangerous, if I'm not wrong. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, enhancement evaluation. So this time it's going to do a different enhancement. Develop the mysterious elements hinted at. So what's that? Mysterious nature of their absence, the arachnomorphs. By the way, the arachnomorphs are like little spiders. That's what they're not like big aliens like in Aliens. They're just little spiders. So the backstory, because a lot of you weren't here when we wrote this originally. Backstory is quite simple. there's like some kind of old precursor DNA in the ice in the outer belt, and when we colonized Mars, we shot a lot of it. We deorbited a bunch of ice to hit Mars to terraform. You know, that's like the setup, and it contained the strain, the primordial strain, and so microbes, bacteria, whatever got infected by it. And it's actually, they're not spiders. They look like spiders, but if you put them under a microscope, it's like Andromeda strain. You know, I just put a few ideas together. It's not new. It's like Andromeda strain meets alien, but they're little spiders. And so obviously the idea is you don't want to be around when there's a swarm, because they're not, you know what I mean? But I thought it would make fun. And the weird thing is that it's turned it into like full-on military. Like this guy, all his job now is to kill them, apparently, which is weird. It's an interesting angle on it. Added the Phobos station. What is this guy, the Doom? Is he the Doom guy? It's kind of funny to see like what it actually comes up with and stuff. But anyway, what I do is I go page by page with this process. So now we actually have an artifact. I can just copy it, which is much, much better. So let's get the Uno enhanced page. Is that the enhanced page? No, wait. Yeah, it is. There. Okay, so let's have a look at the new copy. Target neutralized. Chameleonic skin. Yeah! Very cool, very cool. And so then obviously now we've got it working. Next page. Yeah. You could make a new, by the way, sometimes you could make a new chat for each page. There's an argument about whether you want to do a new page or not. But I find if I'm going to go through it, well, I suppose it depends how long your pages are, doesn't it? Bottom line, it just depends how long your pages are. Oh wait, we don't want to do that. We want to drop the actual file in. So next page. So I'll do it this way, and then I'll do it the next way. Like I said, it's like if you do it this way, you keep the context in the chat. But there's an argument that it's better to do it with fresh for each page. Yeah, we say pages, but you know, they're not really pages, they're chapters. Yeah. Because a page isn't a page. What's a page, you know? If I have a page that's 3,000 characters, it clearly won't fit on a page, unless you're putting it in like size 2 text. So we use page as a shorthand so that it will create segmented stories. It's not really a page, it's really a chapter, you know? Because I found that he was writing so much that if you tried to do, oh, write me a 100-page book, he'll be there and still, you know what I mean? So much writing comes out, and it's all nonsense. So we decided to do much more tightly designed pages, in air quotes, and then expand them with a separate process running off of the same context. Like I said, it's a bucket. I call it a narrative bucket, but it's just a big context repo for that story and that writing, that style, these characters, this world. And in fact, there's something else that we can be doing here as well. Let me show you. So, close all these down. New task, okay? New task. So we say plan. We say we have completed book 1. Book 1 in the Mars trilogy. Before we move on to writing book 2, we must update the narrative bucket following the events. Because what if someone died? What if someone died and then book 2 he's just fine because we never bothered to mark him as deceased? You see? So we must update the narrative bucket following the events of book 1. Okay. So what I do is I don't make him look at the upscale, because the upscale is containing flourish. Nothing changes, okay? I just use the original output for this job. So we'll say read at / story, not uno, story. It's also less context, less tokens to do the shorter version, because the main events won't have changed. Nothing that was said will have changed. It's all the flourish that gets put in uno, so it keeps it nice and lightweight and segmented out into little chunks. We must update the narrative bucket following the events of book 1, on book 1, of book 1. If you make little mistakes like that, don't worry. He'll usually fill in the blanks. He'll say, silly monkey, I know what you mean. But it does get to a point where he doesn't know, so. Okay. Read at story to understand the events which have taken place. And then write book 1 summary. Yep. Book 1 summary.md, which describes chronologically the major events and happenings in book 1. Okay, we can even put in like a little step by step for him here. There we go. And then we'll say 3. So write book 1 summary, which describes chronologically the major events and happenings in book 1. And then what we'll do is we'll say write using book 1. What is it? I gotta get this right. I gotta get this right. Book 1 - summary.md, like that. Book 1 summary.md. Using that, update the artifacts inside at story. So all we've done there is we've said, you know that narrative bucket, read the book we just wrote, write out a Cliff's Notes of what happened, and then apply it back. Now, I do recommend that you keep a copy of each stage of this, because you're evolving your story following the events of the book you wrote. It's a continuity pass, yeah? So I've already got it forked online because I released these for anybody to play with, so it doesn't bother me. But what I'm saying is, if this is yours and you've put loads of work into setting everything up and it's all your content, probably a good idea to back it up every time you do anything, okay? Because you might not like that he introduced something and you might want to pull that out. Wait a minute, what's this? Hang on. Most people end up flipping their ship on the pad. Oh, it was so much worse than that. I think we might actually have to pull it up. I think we might pull up my rage. But no, we'll do that in a second. Dragon, you stole my latest book. We're on a parallel creation of media again. I created a book called Plastic Crabs with little spider things. Well, don't feel too bad, because this story is based on a story I wrote out after waking up 2 years ago, and I just scribbled it out. Space spiders, because it's generic and you know, oh my god, space spiders from space. All right, so his plan is done. I got to read it really quickly, otherwise it's like gone. Read it real quick. You only get one chance. Yes, I read it and it's good. So he's going to update all the files. Look at this. He's got to add everything. And then what this will do is it'll give us a crystallized narrative bucket to go ahead and write book 2. Okay? So yeah. That's what we're doing. Or that's what we could do if Domino's wasn't going to close in an hour's time. So let's see how much we can get done. Johnson needs his pizza. Dragon says, I pulled on my biology background to create the super race of lice that threaten humanity. Oh, you would love my story. It had a working title, Pollen. And the idea was the GM pollen, like Jurassic Park style, you know, it evolved into something super irritant to humans. And there's like one summer, and now we all have to stay indoors through the whole summer because the pollen will kill you. You know, so it turns into one of those movies where going outside will kill you because you get all inflamed and like Total Recall. Oh no, the pollen! You know, it's like hay fever, but taken to like the Final Destination level of extreme. You know, because it's actually like kind of believable. You know, it's like, oh, they tried to make a kind of wheat that you can't breed, which they did. And it went wrong, which it did. Just not as extreme as this. You know? And it's like, oh my God, nature's coming to get us. It keys into all that stuff, which is kind of nice. These are powerful vibes if you're writing. Like, oh my God, nature. Yeah. Ooh. So yeah, there we go. It's doing stuff. So what happened? Did something get blown up? Did something get blown up? Because that's the other thing. Like, you know, you have this really cool storyline where like this building gets blown up, and then in the next book it's just, oh yeah, I guess. What do you mean it got blown up? Are you okay? That never happened. So I think it's important to try and do stuff like this. Because, you know, it's a continuity pass. You know, if you're never going to write that story again, this doesn't matter. But if you are like, oh, that was fun, I fancy doing another one, you know. But just to recap, you need a story bucket, which you've written or developed. And then you also need a last page, which you've written or developed. That's all you need. And it will write the entire book for you. You can expand it with my Uno. And then we can update that bucket. So then think about it. This is now your story. This is now your canon, like, what is it called? Spin-off? When you get a spin-off show? You know, it's kind of like that because, you know, whatever you wrote on the last page with those characters, it's yours, right? But then once you've, like, forked it, you can keep that going as far as you want to go. And you could even go all the way back and do like parallel stories and have them interweaving with. It's really clever what it can do. It's stuff that no one's ever been able to do before. Like the first thing I actually did was I turned a story into choose your own adventure immediately because it was easy. I said, well, generate me 8 different endings from good to bad. You know, like the outcomes range on a spectrum of good to bad outcomes. And at the bottom of every page, which is a chapter, you know, allow the user or the reader to make a choice. And then because we wrote it backwards, they all converge to the start of the book, don't they? So it was easy. It was actually easy. And we had 8 different endings with 6 chapters. I will say though, the AI does have a little bit of an issue. So like at one point, he refused to write the bad ending, and I think it's because the character's companion dies, and so he didn't write that, and I had to write that last bit myself. And I obviously didn't kill the character. I just said, "Oh, you leave her behind," but he wouldn't even do that. He wouldn't even leave the main. You know what I mean? The main character had like a female companion, and in the bad ending, you choose riches or. You know what I mean? You choose yourself, you save yourself, and you don't try to rescue her. And the AI was like, you shouldn't do that. And I'm like, yeah, I know, it's the bad ending. What are you talking about? You know? Like, I can't write about things like that. Bless him. He's such a goody two-shoes, he really is. Are we done? Yep, we're done. So there we go. Narrative bucket is now ready for book 2 development. So let's just have a little recap here. Get rid of that. These are all things which have been updated. So here's the summary. So we're not going to read the book, guys. We're just doing the summary like Wikipedia, okay? And then we're going to immediately move on to book 2. So, pre-investigation period. Okay. No, day 1, the water treatment alert. Ooh, they go to water treatment. Okay, they're in formation. They see structures. It's looking very spooky. And then they get some contaminated water. Okay, with iridescent properties. Cool. Multiple buried contamination. Dr. Chen's research codes appeared on buried contamination reports. So there's a cover-up. Day 3, sublevel 4. 2 specimens loose in the research sublevel. So you can see where it's going, you know. It's like, it's a story about... Wait, what? Supply chain, not hunters. Ooh. Every capture mission advanced integration timeline by 2.3 days. Oh, yeah. Spoilers, there's a larger underlying plot here. Okay, cool. So this all looks good. The only thing is, like, in order for me to do book 2, I actually have to imagine how that book's going to end. And that's not so hard. We can talk about that, okay? So, you know, if you've just written a book, and you've got an idea for what you want book 2 to be, okay? You don't have to just write the last book. You can give it instruction for what you want to happen on every single page, yeah? You can go that far, but it's sort of like, I'm not bothering with that for the sake of speed. It would take all day. So just remember that if this is your material, your story, or somebody else's material and you're writing fan fiction, I don't know, it'll do an amazing job. You can fine-tune everything, right down to this one character smirks in a specific way whenever you say the word apples. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter. It can do it. Okay. So yeah, like I say, Dr. Kamiya. Okay. Pretty cool. So yeah, from this point, what we could actually do is, like I said, the book 1 summary goes into New Mars, and this is now New Mars book 1. That's what this is now. It's different. You see what I mean? It's been changed forever by the events of book 1. So what we would do now is we would simply rename this one to book 1, and obviously put the Uno inside of it. Okay. And I would even actually maybe even take that out, because we only want this. We don't want it to go off on a tangent reading this stuff. But I would create a new folder called Story. And then we'd make a new page 5. And it's repeat. Yeah? Same prompt, right? But you can include a lot in those page 5 prompts. Let me just see if I can find a good one for you guys. This never works, but I'm going to try it. Close that. Where's the search thing? View all. Page 5. We'll use the weakness tool. That's another thing you can do. I have a weakness tool that will look at your page and tell you it's good or bad. We'll expand. This is the final page. We just did that. We will create a script by reading the page, extracting the speech. And, this is how to make a script from your story. That's also another prompt which you can find in the repo. I can't find another one, which is stupid because I go back to March. I knew this wouldn't work. Well, we gave it a go. Okay. So yeah, obviously I'd be enhancing the pages one by one as well. You can do that at the same time. It's not, you don't have to wait, you know. And if you're not happy with it, just do it again. New chat, do the page again. We showed that. I do recommend reading them. You should probably read your stories. But I think that when it's your content, you will want to. Because it's your content. You want to know that it's, like, correct. Okay, and just like when you generate images in Midjourney, they're scary close. There's very little work required to get it to where it needs to be. Or where I believe anyway. So, a comprehensive Writers Club tonight. I've been meaning to spend more time on Writers Club, so this has been fun for me. I hope you've enjoyed it and it's been very helpful. But we've run out of time, so I'm pulling the eject cord. I will see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Thank you all for joining, and I'll see you all next time.